Can you see it? I don't think you can see it. Oh no, you can see it. Hey guys, brass facts here. Today we're going to be taking a look at the RCR. If you want to get in and out of here in the next 20 seconds, the review is quite simple. The Trijicon RCR, according to Trijicon themselves and many others, is a RMR with a hat on it. It's an enclosed RMR. Nothing more and nothing less. More or less. That's the review. Done. People are going to hear that and either be like, oh, it's an enclosed RMR? Hell yeah, I like the RMR. Give me 3. And then the other half of the population is, excuse me, $700 for an enclosed dot? What the hell are you smoking, Trijicon? And yeah, honestly, both are valid reactions. Let's get into it. Ryan has fully approximated Gray Man. Ryan, what belt do you have? Oh my God, he's matching.
Gray Man.
The 5'11 Gray Man. You still blend into it.
I got a Target with my contacts.
Yeah.
Psych, you walked into a Blue Alpha sponsor section. Blue Alpha, the company that makes all the belts that all of my homies wear, including that incredibly gray belt on that very dapper gray man of a gentleman. Look, all of us, every single one of us, the people you see in the video, all of us have been buying Blue Alpha belts before this sponsorship, well before this sponsorship, because we just really like their belts. Now, a lot of people might balk at the idea of spending $50 on a belt. For starters, that's actually not that much, but if it is a lot for you, not to girl math your ass, look, the price per wear is insanely good. Belts are something that you're going to wear day in and day out to make carrying your handgun significantly more comfortable. And a good rigid belt, for example in this case from Blue Alpha, is going to make your life a lot easier, and in the long run absolutely is money well spent. Go to Blue Alpha, check them out, and then tell them I sent you. Let's address the negatives first. Despite what Trijicon and RMR diehards think, the RMR is actually no longer the pinnacle of pistol dot design, well, maybe outside of looks, and hasn't been for quite some time. And when we look through an RCR, it is indistinguishable from an RMR. We got all the tint, the warp, the edge curve, and the aggressive notch filter. Now, the notch filter is there to solve the problem of battery life and maximum brightness setting by essentially acting like sunglasses for the optic. But in the age of reliable auto on and auto off, something the RCR and RMR lacked, these feel distinctly out of date, as other optics can achieve comparable brightness levels, comparable battery life, all without having the notch filter present. The lens warping similarly means these dots are coming up short compared to straight body designs on small form factor guns like PDWs or mounting this piggyback on the back of an ACOG, as the warping that close to your eyeball is very exaggerated and noticeable, especially when we're in lower lighting conditions where the contrast is much more aggressive and the notch filter is really kicking in. We can deal with all of these issues, sure, but it's also perplexing that Trijicon is holding on to these aspects so hard when it seems like all the other manufacturers have figured out how to deal with this stuff a long time ago. The durability, similarly, while cool back when the RMR was competing stuff with like Doctor Sights or Delta Points, the only optic I've seen shatter when dropped from waist height onto carpeted floor, but nowadays just seems like par for the course. Romeo X Pro, M17 RDS, the EPS, the 507, the Acro all seem to take blunt impacts within reason about as well as the RMR series has. Night vision performance similarly is much of the same story. Once unrivaled is now nothing all that exciting. It's good, I would say upper tier, but the margins between this and say an EPS or really anything that you can pick off the shelf is much closer than it once was, and the differences really will only manifest in certain very specific lighting conditions, while also still ultimately falling short of something like an Aimpoint T2 or an EOTech. All in all, the RMR, and as a result, the RCR feels incredibly dated in 2025, especially given the asking price. If all other Trijicon products are to be believed, that price tag is not coming down for a very, very long time.
Bro!
Starlink! Dude, it's Santa!
Whoa!
Oh!
That's the thumbnail. That's a good
He's
thumbnail.
not even pointing remotely.
No, he was close. He was right on it.
Oh! Oh! That being said, as much as I want to rag on the RCR, and well I have, but I kind of like it. Kind of like it a lot. The biggest aspect is just the simplicity. The RCR is an RMR and it mounts directly to all RMR things due to these nifty sort of side access screws. I know, EPS, 507K, acro cuts, all are becoming more prolific by the day, but the RMR pattern is already popular right now and has been very popular for the better part of a decade, which means I already own a ton of stuff for that cut, and when you go shopping, most things are still going to be defaulted to the RMR cut. And that's not insignificant, that's actually kind of a big deal. And one area where the RCR does in fact improve over the RMR is having a top access for the battery instead of just having to unscrew and take the whole thing off and then re-zero. Something that I have to do multiple times a year over different guns. Now you can of course die on this hill as it being unimportant, and Trijicon historically certainly has, but I'm still going to appreciate gear that doesn't add one more thing on the giant list of things I need to track and worry about that all my other gear is asking of me. Oh, and you know I'm going to bring this up every single time. I love me the big ass buttons on the side of the RMR and RCR. They're just big, easy to adjust, which is great both in rifle context as you transition from daytime to nighttime, or on handguns where you typically default the gun on a very bright setting, but sometimes you want to dim it for more adjustability. And having something that you can kind of just whop, whop, whop is a lot nicer than trying to find these little tiny ass little pinprick of a buttons that you have on the acro Holosons or whatever. Oh, and yeah, of course, finally, what it says on the tin, it's an enclosed dot. I used to hate on enclosed dots, and I still think they are extremely overrated in handgun context from the perspective of fear of a terminally guided range drop occluding your dot, but yeah, I'll admit, it's actually kind of nice. Most of my handguns now have EPS for that reason, simply due to the fact that they're easy to clean. Handgun dots get dirty really quickly because they get covered in lube by being so close to the ejection port, and then a ton of lint and other bullshit tends to stick to the lens, and they're kind of hard to clean due to their notched sort of design. And anyone that carries and shoots a lot knows when you're trying to clean an RMR or say a Holosun, you're going to have to get a Q-tip to kind of clean that thing out. Enclosed dots tend to have a flush sort of design, and it's just really easy to wipe the whole thing down with your t-shirt, and there you go, you're back in it, baby. And that alone is actually quite convenient. However, those benefits are actually appreciated in a environmental sense when you put this stuff on rifles, because rifles and their optics do in fact get very dirty, and they don't go back into a holster when they're done being used. Having an environmentally resilient red dot, well, that actually ends up mattering, especially in the context of keeping the emitter enclosed. There's also the moderately hilarious undertone here that the RCR, unlike the acro, does not self-destruct on handguns in rapid order. Well, at least we assume so. Going with the logic that the RCR is just an RMR Type 2, then yeah, there's a track record there, a very large track record there of being able to survive handgun recoil. I have multiple RMRs as mentioned, and I'm close to 30,000 rounds over the whole fleet, if not more. Also, I just want to put a small note here. I really appreciate that Trijicon has stuck to normal zeroing type turrets, unlike Aimpoint, which is so far up their ass they either require that weird thing that's on the T2 with the little two prongs, or a Torx bit to zero. What the fuck, dude? Just be normal, Aimpoint, please. So, where do we stand? The RCR is not a bad buy per se, but I don't think it's a great buy either. There isn't really anything new here, and many of the downsides from the RMR still exist. For those seeking out not to just maximize dollar spent value, but also to get the most modern dot available on the current market, well, there's a number of good options, like say the EPS that checks basically all of the boxes imaginable while still coming in at half the price. Or how about potentially that new PLX red dot coming out from Primary Arms with quadruple the feature set of this thing, well, while also being made in America. That being said, while I don't think the RCR is really going to gain any market share, it certainly will appeal to RMR diehards, those already locked into the RMR pattern, or those that just want an American-made and sourced optic, where a couple bucks here or there is ultimately irrelevant to them in the pursuit of one of the more nice optics available in the present market in the, closed emitter footprint. And I can see it. While I never would have bought this thing had I not done a review on it, I'm also kind of finding myself somewhat reluctant to get rid of it now that the review is done. It really is a good fit on RMR cut handguns or something like an ACOG, which is somewhat difficult to get other optic types onto. Also, you gotta match brands, right? You can't not put a Trijicon product on an ACOG, right? Alright. Okay, cool. That's the spiel. Thanks for watching. And, well, today I'll just say special thanks for my substars. It warms my heart. You guys are willing to give money for me for this essentially free content. Oh, it's not for me. It's for the dog. Yeah, okay. Fair enough. Here's your clip coming right up.
Are you content?
She's such a goober.
Are you content?
Oh, that was a heavy sigh.
She's so content when she's held.
You're such a good girl, except for the things you did today that were not okay. Like eating all the cat food.
Yeah, but they're trying really hard to work. You're being really dumb right now, Nova. When you get like this, you act really dumb. Why is there rust on your fridge?
I don't know.